Today, I'm going to review the Warner Archive's first 4K UHD release, The Searchers, which was added to the Library of Congress in 1989. Plus, we're going to talk about the journey the Warner Archive has had over the years. Is this a worthy start to their entry into 4K? So thank you for watching this review on the Warner Archive first 4K UHD release, which is The Searchers. And I just want to let you all know that if you want to order this release, I do have an Amazon affiliated link in the description as well as in the comments. And that's a great way to help support the page. Another great way to support the page is joining my Patreon. And by doing so, you're going to help support the videos that I put out and help me put out more videos. Now, The Searchers is a film that is based on the 1954 novel by Alan LeMay. And I'm going to be honest, I don't think I've really seen too many John Wayne films all the way through. I have possibly some memories of watching some of them, as my dad was a huge fan of westerns and would watch a lot, and especially when we got to cable, there was, I would say, a lot of times that my mom and dad would just have TCM running on the TV all the time. So you're going to see a lot of Western, especially during the day. I am sure that I have seen this before. But one of the reasons why I wanted to take a look at this was kind of that nostalgia value of watching a Western from the 1950s. Little did I realize that this is one that is very different than the normal Western that was out there at the time. Now, another reason why I wanted to get this to review, a couple reasons actually. One is I love listening to George Feltenstein talk about the Warner Archive releases. He does it a lot on a podcast called The Extras. If you are not listening to that, it's such a great insight, not only into the workings of the Warner Archive releases, but also a really good look at film in general, especially when it comes to physical releases. And one of the things that George really goes into is the work that's put into these releases. And that's one of my favorite parts. If you watch my stuff, you know that that's one of the areas that I really focus in on. And I really love the way he describes it. And he's such a veteran at this that just him talking about it and me not knowing anything else about this film really wanted me to take a look at it, and his belief in high quality, which is another reason why I want to talk about the journey of the Warner Archive, because we've come a long way, and it really goes to show that persistence and patience is the key, and not a lot of studios get a chance to see that plan come to fruition, and George almost kind of lost it all at one point. And I love the Warner Archive releases. I have a ton of them. And one of the reasons why I want to start reviewing Warner Archive releases simply is this. It's just, I want people to know more about the releases that are coming out, especially, and I will talk about this in a second, especially when it comes to how people have perceived the Warner Archive back when it started. What was it, back 2005, 2006, whatever it was. So I'm really looking forward to talking about this film. Now, as for the disc itself, what I'm looking at today is the 4K Blu-ray combo. It's a 2-disc set from 1956. It's released by Warner Brothers as part of the Warner Archive collection on December 17th, 2024. I'm a little late to the game, but I really wanted to talk about this release. And right now, I think that the disc is out there. I've seen it out there between $29.99 and $33.49. Once again, please consider using my Amazon affiliated link. There is also a standalone Blu-ray release that we'll talk about as well. Subtitles in English, SDH 16:9, DTS HD mono 2.0 mono. The 4K disc is HDR10 BD100, and the Blu-ray is 1080p BD50. And that is something that really shows the quality when we get to that part of the review. Now, for the film itself, John Wayne plays an ex-Confederate soldier seeking his niece, captured by Comanches who massacred his family. He won't surrender to hunger, thirst, the elements, or loneliness. And in his 5-year search, he encounters something unexpected. Now, as I mentioned at the start of the program, The Searchers was amongst the first 25 films deemed culturally or aesthetically significant by the U.S. Library of Congress back in 1989 when it was inducted in its National Film Registry. And The Searchers was shot in VistaVision. And VistaVision was a widescreen film format developed by Paramount in the 1950s. Unlike traditional film, which runs vertically through the camera, VistaVision runs horizontally, giving it high resolution and sharper image. While it faded out in favor for other widescreen formats, it is high-quality visuals made a comeback in modern filmmaking, especially for visual effect shots in movies like Star Wars. You know that you've seen a good film when certain shots, moments, music, that they're constantly popping back in your mind. Like you can't let them go. You think about shots over and over again. You think about parts of the film, reliving them. And that is really what I found with The Searchers. This is a multi-layered story with John Wayne being visually imposing from the start, and also something more to him that his character Ethan is clearly holding back. He fought in the Civil War, and his fighting in the Civil War changed his character. Ethan changed in the Civil War, and there were times that Ethan had to be ruthless and fight many emotions, plus his own racism that he has actually towards his own family. John Ford, who directed the film and who was worked with John Wayne. They worked together so many times throughout their career. And John Ford created a feeling for the film where the scenery is as much of a character, just like the actors. The shots are spacious and grand. A lot of space is given to the actual locations, and the scale of the characters sometimes are actually minuscule in many of the shots. So Ford gives us the beauty of the location, which had not been shot on film before. It's visually gorgeous. It is so beautiful. I think that it could be very easy if you watched it on TV in the 90s. Probably just really think it just looks like almost any other Western if you've never had seen it in the film, if you've never seen it in a theater, because you need to see it as large as possible. It is so good. The film takes place over the course of 5 years, and John Wayne's Ethan Edwards is searching along with his nephew Martin Pauly, played by Jeffrey Hunter, who is absolutely excellent in this. And I'm going to be very honest, there are a lot of things I have not seen. I've only really seen Jeffrey Hunter in Star Trek. In the one film or one episode he was in, the pilot, The Cage, also King of Kings. And so I've never seen him like this, where he is Martin Pauly is basically a kid trying to figure it out, and he has to stand up to John Wayne's Ethan Edwards. I mean, that is huge. And at first he doesn't. At first he doesn't know, he doesn't know what he doesn't know. But as the film goes along, and he sees the good of Ethan, but he also sees the bad of Ethan as well. And he stands up to him. And that takes a lot. And he's kind of that transition between boy and man. And Jeffrey Hunter plays that very well as some very, very dramatic moments, but some really good comedic moments as well. They have a complex relationship that sometimes changes very quickly, and it is sometimes unknown what happened to return the relationship to normal. There's a couple times that it goes, just like you think that they are going to go their separate ways, they're going to give up on each other. And then like the next shot, it's just like nothing happened. And it's a big part, like a big example of this is there's a shot or there's a scene where Ethan bequeaths Martin Pauly all of his land and everything, even though that's kind of weird to me a little bit, because at first Ethan is not a big fan of Martin because there's a percentage of Comanche in his blood, but he bequeaths all of his stuff to Martin Pauly, and there's a big reason for this, and Martin Pauly rejects it outright because of really how horrible Ethan can be. And it's a very big emotional scene. And then the next scene, they're kind of back to their normal selves. It's very interesting. And, I kind of look at that. I mean, it's easy to be like, well, that seems uneven. To me, I do think that has to do with the fact that this is a 5-year journey for them. And we are just like, we're moving along very, very quickly. One of the ways that kind of helps move the story along is a bit of a flashback, and I kind of complain about that in my review of the Triumph of Sherlock Holmes. But here it is done with a letter that Martin sends back, and it's being read, and it's done very well. It's done extraordinarily well, and it's one of the things that even other filmmakers in some of the extras call out as being an excellent way of storytelling for this film. So the context of the film is heavy. It's also layered. It goes from racism, revenge. It goes to how Native Americans were treated to how they treated settlers. Some stuff that happens to all sides involved is very gruesome, but we actually don't see. And that's one of the things that John Ford made very clear in it a number of times, that there are gruesome things happening, atrocities happening to everybody, not just to one side or other. It's not cowboys and Indians. If you can forgive me saying that, this is much more than that. And it's probably one of a very early example that we actually are looking at more than just sort of, once again, forgive me, a black and white sort of scenario of good and bad, right? Luckily, there are characters that are inherently funny and brings kind of a respite. Even in the darkest moments, they bring a respite from the story. And even characters such as Martin Pauly, who is sort of the boy who never grew up, that gives us some brevity in the story too. And that's just one of the great things about it. And there are some real good characters in this. Some just very standout character actors that do some really good moments throughout the entirety of the film. And when they pop up again, they have some light moments, but it doesn't turn anything ever into a farce. This is a really good film. I am so glad that I sought it out. I am so glad that I watched it. I really enjoyed this very much. I'd like to talk about the quality of the film now. The quality of the Warner Archive 4K disc is nothing short of amazing. Quite honestly, I am blown away. And I'm gonna quote the Extras podcast when Tim Millard, he starts off by saying that from the first shot, and it's true, from the first shot to the last shot, and as I mentioned before, it was shot in VistaVision, which makes this so beautiful. Used for this restoration is the original camera negative, and according to the Extras podcast, yellow separation protection masters were used for this new presentation. So from the first grand shot to the last grand shot, and there are a lot of grand shots in this, it's utterly beautiful with such scope of visuals. The color is rich, And like, in the opening, there's, these red titles for says the searchers, and it's just so deep and beautiful and pure. It just, everything about it is so good. And I had to watch this twice because I was just enjoying the picture quality so much that I had to watch it again to actually pick up some nuances of the plot, which nothing wrong with that. And like I said, the imagery from this film still stays in my mind. I think of that opening shot. I think of certain moments. I think of, and try not to give it away if you've not seen it, moments of with Natalie Wood in it. Really enjoyed a lot of that quite a bit. Now, I heard from another reviewer that the audio is flawed. And with respect to said reviewer, I find that this person has more problems with physical media that's coming out. And I'm not saying that they're wrong. I'm just not picking up on it. And sometimes I'm going to go and I'm going to look at other reviews and see, am I not picking up on this because this person is so adamant about it? And everywhere else I'm looking, such as Blu-ray.com, other places, once again, the extras, nobody's complaining about anything. It sounded amazing. It's in mono. It was purposely really not, from what I understand, really nothing overly done to it because it needed to continue that pure sort of audio, not mess with the audio so much. So I don't find it. I don't see it. Everything about this disc is really pretty spectacular to me. Let's talk about some extras here real fast. So on the 4K disc itself, all right. So take a look at this. Open it up. I presume what's happening here, first of all, is you're going to have the 4K disc, and then you're having a Blu-ray. This is how it's sold. If I, using Spidey sense over here, my presumption is that the Blu-ray is the same that if you do the standalone release, that this is the Blu-ray you're going to get. So on the 4K release, the only thing on the 4 disc itself is an excellent archival commentary by Peter Bogdanovich. And because that is all it's on here, the bit rate to this film is astronomical. It is so good. And this is just, to me, this is a great way to release films. And the whole release comes across as something of not just here's a film with some fun extras, here's a film, and we're celebrating the process not only of filmmaking, but the process of the filmmaking of the searchers. So all the other extras are going to be on this Blu-ray disc, and that's fine. I'm never one to feel like I have to have everything on one disc. I much rather have the main feature on its own disc and everything else separately because I can get up and I can switch a disc. I'm okay with that because I just want things to be the best quality possible. And just to be clear, the version of the film on the Blu-ray disc is the same same restoration on the 4K release. And I say that because I've seen other studios, when they release the 4K version, the Blu-ray HD version is sometimes of a previous release. So it's not the same restoration. And to me that's false advertising. To me that's wrong. I'm not a fan of that at all, but this is the same. So what you're going to get on the Blu-ray here is you're going to get the original theatrical trailer, which seems like a no-brainer. In the 1996 introduction to the feature by Patrick Wayne, of course, John Wayne's son. What you're also going to get here, which is from 2006, and it's excellent, is The Searchers: An Appreciation. And this remembrance of the film is a wonderful tribute to what went into making the film from John Ford and John Wayne, looking at it at the point of view from filmmakers. And so it literally is an appreciation. So on this, you're going to have the late Curtis Hanson, Martin Scorsese, John Millis, and it it's really thoughtful. And right away, they're pointing out stuff that they find incredible, and that to me is incredible. And what's also fun too is when they're talking about stuff and you're like, yeah, I noticed a tracking shot. I noticed this. I noticed that. Really good stuff. Another is a great one is Turning of the Earth, John Ford and John Wayne and the Searchers, which is a great, wonderful audible piece. There's footage attached to it as well, but once again, you even get stuff like some reminiscence, not on camera but audio over the visuals of folks like Patrick Wayne. This is a really classy way of doing it, and I enjoy that very much. There's also newsreel coverage of the film's world premiere in Chicago, which is just fun to have. You get outtakes, which I don't know if I like that term myself, because they're more of film trims. To me, an outtake is like, John Wayne would walk through a door and the door would fall off and they're all laughing. This is just shots, like film trims that were not usable. Then you have behind the cameras segments of the 1956 Warner Brothers Presents TV series. And it's really funny because there are 4 pieces. I meant to look this up and I didn't, but I'm presuming that this is like Warner Brothers in 1956 was doing a TV show that sort of like The Wonderful World of Disney, that they were showing a film or something, and then they would break in with sort of pieces about upcoming films and whatnot. Searchers taking up at least 4 of them. One being Meet Jeffrey Hunter, the other being Monument Valley, which is where the film was shot, the other being Meet Natalie Wood, and then setting up production. And one of the interesting things about the Searchers is that you had the crew go out there to shoot the film. You had another crew going out there shooting black and white footage of the making of the film, which really was unheard of at the time, at least to such a degree that I think they really covered a lot of stuff, including the building of the camp that they created in Monument Valley, so that they could have crew stay there. As something like 300 crew were there, explaining where the Native Americans came from, what kind of Native Americans, how they were treated, how they were paid, which was great. It's such a great uh, piece of history to watch. What's also fun about it is it's kind of wooden and rehearsed, just as any promo piece, especially from that time, is, and that's kind of fun. I mean, you got Jeffrey Hunter in this that looks kind of shell shocked, to be honest. And Natalie Wood in costume. They're trying to give the impression that they're on set in Monument Valley. They're clearly not, and that's kind of the charm about it too. But there's parts of it that the host, he's in a studio, and behind him is a window that has the studio behind him in this office. This office of his has to be in a blimp because it is a like shot of the studio from well above in the sky, quite frankly. Is like, wow, okay. I love it. And it's just really fun. And that's the great part about these wonderful extras. And they keep ending the segments by a now word from Clint Walker, who we're going to be talking about in a few weeks when I review the massive set Cheyenne, the TV series, and he stars in that. So that's pretty exciting as well. Once again, the one thing I want to really say about these extras, that they're not new extras. They've been around, I I don't I like the idea that you don't feel like you have to make something new just because it is a new release. That the extras that were created for these releases before or they aired somewhere else, that these are good because to me, I don't know what else you can really do. This is a great way, and it's not done in a way of a forward documentary. A lot of this stuff is done in a way of a ongoing conversation about filmmaking and that how the searchers really strived to be an excellent piece of filmmaking. And I absolutely love that. I love to talk about the cover and all that stuff. So we have basically this is the film poster, the original movie poster. Original movie poster has some other stuff on the side. This is great. This is really good. I love O-rings. I know some people don't. I love them. I don't mind putting my discs in them, and on the back, just John Wayne from the film. This is just really wonderful, wonderful, and great packaging. Nothing too terribly crazy. It's just let the film do the work, and at the same time, you're getting a good deal out of it as well. Now, overall thoughts on this release. This is a well thought out presentation for the film, The Searchers, I think. Especially for myself, who's not come into this before. I look at this and I think this is a great way to enjoy the film and to actually appreciate it on multiple levels. It is a beautiful restoration, and I really do love the extras on this as well. There's a good amount of extras. I've heard people say about Warner Archive releases that some of the discs are bare bones. I don't understand that personally. Like I said, none of these extras are newly made, but I don't know what could be said that wasn't really said on these discs anyway, plus this fantastic commentary as well. To me, this release is highly recommended. That even if you're not a fan of Westerns, and I don't know if I am or not, quite frankly, but this is a great story. It's a great story that takes place in, the late 1800s, 1890s. And I think it actually starts in late 1880s, if I'm not mistaken. And it's really a great release. And I enjoy it. I enjoy it very much. If you want strong visuals, great storytelling, an incredible score. I had to look it up on Spotify because I wanted to hear it again. I was going to see if I could buy the soundtrack, and it doesn't seem to be as straightforward to do as possible. This disc has it, and it's very affordable. It's another great release by the Warner Archive collection, and I want to talk about them real fast because one of the reasons why I want to talk about these releases, especially the Warner Archive. I got this in to review, and I was talking with a friend, and I said, I'm going to do a video about this. And they said, Oh, Warner Archive does 4K releases now. And I said, From what I understand, I know this is the first one. I don't know if it's going to be prevalent in their release schedule. It doesn't sound like it, but they wanted to do something with this. And it got me to think that I'm not sure what in some cases what people what they're still thinking of when they think of the Warner Archive collection, because obviously when this range started in, I think it was 2006, wasn't it? That the kind of the purpose of it was on demand printing DVDs on DVD-Rs and grabbing more lesser known titles from the shelf, whatever video format it's from or whatever else, that there wasn't restoration. It was just, here's the master, and we're going to print the DVD and put it on a DVD-R and send it out to you, which I am actually not against that model, because my philosophy is, if you can get lesser known programs out, and there's been a ton that have come out, just even TV shows under this model that I never had. I'm all for it. And as time went on, And George has been, part of this label, and I'm going to use the term boutique studio label for Warner Archive Collection. You don't have to listen to too many interviews with him to understand that now they think Warner Brothers now think highly of them, but that there are constraints, and so there isn't money available as much as we would like to think, and that's making a lot of things stretch a lot of ways. And like I said at the beginning, the Warner Archive Collection story to me seems like a story of patience and perseverance, that it's needed to start off a certain way and to grow into what we're having now. My guess, from knowing what George's history is, working in the industry, especially working, like, having a huge history working with the home releases for Looney Tunes going back to the 80s, when I don't know if he designed Warner Archive Collection or whatever else, that his plan probably was to get to where we are now, or that's part of the plan. And what I'm getting at here is, now the Blu-ray releases that come out for Warner Archive, everything seems to be new scans. It seems to be going well above and beyond what we originally thought the Warner Archive Collection is. And, the Blu-rays for these releases, they're not VDRs. They are proper Blu-rays. As I said, with the triumph of Sherlock Holmes and Silver Blades, that's not an issue for me. But for those that it is, these are proper releases. Listening to what he's doing and bringing on experts to help with the releases, you can tell that there is a mandate going on to make these the best possible. I'm going to point out one release in particular that I've heard people give a rough time to, and I really get frustrated with it. And that is this Porky Pig 101. And why this bothers me, that people go after this absolutely stunning release. First of all, the flaws that people have with it is it's on a DVD-R. There's no Blu-ray release. And I mean, if you can even see how many cartoons are on there, obviously 101, you can see that some of these have not been restored. To get this release done, you have to make compromises. I don't need everything to look perfect. I don't need everything to look absolutely stunning. I want it to be watchable. Sometimes I like to see stuff, as it were, just, maybe unrestored in some cases. And I'm going to support these releases. And if that's the only way I can see them because money is tight, then I am fine with that. I am absolutely fine with that. Watching this, there was nothing in here that was like, oh my gosh, this is horrible looking. Not even close. And to me, this sums up a lot of ways the Warner Archive Collection, because it is trying to feed the appetite of what people want. And one of the big things is the Looney Tunes collections, the Looney Tune cartoons. And as of making this video, there has been a big announcement about how the Looney Tunes cartoons are going to be put out into Blu-ray going forward, starting in June of 2025. It's super, super exciting. So my guess is, if people support the releases, we're going to get remastered versions of these. But to know that there is an audience for that, you have to purchase stuff like this. And this is not a bad purchase. This is one of my favorite sets, as it happens. And I know people are watching and they're going to be like, well, it's a DVD-R and she's worried about blah, blah, blah. Nothing like that has happened to me. I know that there's a lot of people talking about Warner discs and the disc rot and stuff. None of mine have had that. And, everything about this release is beautiful, including the cover. And that's my little rant about the Warner Archive. And when I say rant, I guess I mean, when I say rant, I don't mean rant. More of a rant of if people are unhappy with the output, because The output is incredible. And there's a lot of films that they put out that I personally don't have any interest in, but I know film buffs do. And that's exciting because out of what, 5, 6 titles every month, easily 2 or 3 are going to be ones that I cannot wait and that I need to have. And there might be some like The Searchers, like pretty much all of these behind me, which is only just a small portion of what I have. These are films that I didn't really know much about. Who would have thought that I'd own on Blu-ray in the good old summertime with Judy Garland and Van Johnson? I mean, honestly, and the purpose of that is simply because the work has gone into it. It sounds very appetizing to me to see really high quality films on Blu-ray. And there's a big nostalgia value to it for me as well, as I know that that used to be my mom's favorite film. And there's a lot of great films. And it's like, I need to watch more of these great films, and someone's releasing them. So, if you haven't, if you had been thinking that they're doing something different, check them out because you will be, I think, pleasantly surprised. And there was, for a while, it looked like that the Warner Archive collection was done, and luckily, smarter heads prevailed, and now it seems better than ever. And I, for one, am grateful for that. I really appreciate you watching. The next review I'm going to do is the Warner Archive Collection release of the 1921 film, The Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse. And very soon, for us who are looking for more British television videos, because I haven't given up on that either, I'm going to be doing a video on the DVD set comparison and including a special guest for the network release of Catweasel. Once again, thank you very much. Are you enjoying these films? Are you going to pick them up? If you pick them up, I'd love to know what you think of them as well. Take care, everyone.